Now, one of the hardest things about being a video game YouTuber is having to pause your game to make a video. I have, however, managed to put together a pickups video, and it's coming right up, right after these. So as per normal, I will be starting with the new stuff first and then working my way back to that juicy retro at the end. The only difference is I'm going to be showing a couple of clips here, a couple of events that I attended, and they do tie in, they absolutely tie into the video game pickups that I've made this month. So let's start with the first event I attended, and that was the Turnberry Titans, where the wonderful Gordon Gibb organised a host of other YouTubers from across the country to put together a wonderful charity event that has raised a spectacular amount of money for Glasgow's Children's Hospital. Now, of course, it wasn't just Gordon at this event. I did pop in for a couple of hours just to give some moral support, but with him for the full 24 hours. You can see here we had Russ, the Retro Bear, his wonderful wife Claire, the Retro Repair Bear, Ross from Bah Haw Haw, Dylan from Hyper Trigger X, Scott from Glory Hunter, Eddie from Rollercore, and of course the most technically minded of the group, we had Paul, the Ink Northerner. Now there will be links in the description, so if you want to pop down there and check out these wonderful people, whether it be on YouTube or Instagram, then feel free to do so. But that wasn't the end of my socialising for this month, because the very day after, I popped back to Forgotten Worlds, where I got to meet the wonderful James from The Review Thing, and of course John, aka Chicken Fillets. Now, of course, being at Forgotten Worlds, I did manage to peruse there, and I did manage to spend some money there. No big surprises there, but enough of what I got up to during the last month, and let's move on to the pickups themselves. And the first pickup, well, that is directly linked to the Turnberry Titans, because it was one of the prizes that I won, and it was this beast here, the Hitman 2 Collector's Edition. Now, as you can see, it's for PC, which doesn't bother me in the slightest, because I do game on my PC, not as much as I do on consoles, but I will dip into the PC now and again. Not normally for these modern games, more for the 1990s games, but this I won. It looks fantastic, and as you can see, it's lovely and sealed until right now. Because I'm going to open it, I don't believe in sealed games. I believe games should be opened, I believe they should be played, and anyone who says differently, well, you can just fight me in the comments over that. So let's get this off, because it is a weighty collector's piece. It's in this wonderful case. It's got a slip cover here, which is on super tight. I don't know if this is sealed or not. Nope, just a little bit of glue holding on that slip cover, and we have the Hitman briefcase. Of course, it's not the case itself we're interested in, it's what's inside. So let's flick this open, turn it around, and have a look at the contents, if I can get this catch off. Nice foam pad in there, and the first thing that jumps out to me is this Hitman rubber ducky. Quite lovely, but I'll set you there to the side for the meantime. We also have a coin in here, it's in nice and tight. Special Hitman coin. I wonder if John Wick would use something similar to this to get into his hotel for Sanctuary. A Hitman coin alongside the rubber duck. And also we have what looks like a little keychain. We have a little keychain, and it looks like we can lock this case. This is quite a nice case actually. And it's a little bullet. And does it say anything on it? Don't know, probably made in China. I'll check that later, but we'll set that down there. Also has some documentation, probably some codes on there, and the game itself in this lovely steelbook. But no game in there, which I'm assuming then you lift this off. Yeah, and under here we have more. We do not have more. Is it a digital only? It could be a digital only. Now the thing about this is, these all come out, so it's like compartments. That's interesting. I'm getting more excited about this case than I am about the game itself. So it looks like the game's digital only, although it comes with a steelbook, which is quite interesting. But there we have the steelbook. That is definitely empty. And you know what? That would do for a PlayStation 3 copy to go in. Sorry, a PlayStation 4 copy to go in there. But that's the steelbook. I'll set that over there. We will shut this case. I will see if I can lock this case, because I do. I like this case. This case is fantastic. But now what we're going to do is a little jump cut, because this is quite an angle to show this, and I want to show the rest of the games that I got, and most of them are going to be much more retro. So there you go, jump cut done, and we're moving on to the games. Now, as I've said, this is a mostly retros pickup. Now, I will say that I don't consider the PlayStation 2 retro. That's an argument for a whole other video, but we're going to start with PlayStation 2. You might call it retro. I don't quite. There's some retro aspects to it. Enough of this waffle, let's go into the games. That's what you're here to see. And the first game for the PlayStation 2 that I picked up was Garfield 2. Now, I picked up Garfield 2 quite simply because it's nostalgic for me. Not actually Garfield 2, because this is from the movie franchise, and I haven't seen any of the Bill Murray movies. I did put this in for a little while, and it is really quite bad, especially when it comes to the voiceovers, the acting, the script. The whole thing is awful.
Now, there is still hope left. No matter who that cat is, if he looks like Prince, he can save us from Dodges.
We must do all we can to keep him here until Dargis' meeting with the lawyers. Let's make him feel at home and pamper him as if he was really Prince.
If there is one saving grace with Garfield, other than Garfield being printed on this, is the fact that when Garfield attacks, he busts a move, he absolutely beats down with the breakdance. I can't explain it any better than that. I may put some footage up for you to see, but Garfield 2 coming into the collection, and it might get played again. It might, but only for the breakdancing attacks of Garfield. Now next up, still for the PlayStation 2, we have Mystery Exile. I haven't played Mystery before, I've only ever played the first game, and I saw this out in the wild and it was nice and complete. I had to pick it up, but unfortunately I was playing it on my PlayStation 3, and when sometimes the PlayStation 3 doesn't play nice with PlayStation or PlayStation 2 games, this is one case. So if you're thinking about picking this up using the PlayStation 3 emulation, you're going to have to avoid that. I will have to pop this into the PlayStation 2, give it its proper shake, and I don't care that I haven't played Myst 2, because let's face it, it's just a graphic adventure, a point and click graphic adventure. It's in the collection where it belongs, because Myst is an important title. And we'll move on to the next game, which is none other than WDL World Destruction League War Jets. Now, I only picked this game up because of this box art here. You have to admit, this is proper noughties box art, and anytime I see anything like this, I've got to pick it up. Now, it is nice and complete. It will be staying in the collection because, like with most of the games I pick up, it's been popped into the PlayStation 3, ran fine on the PlayStation 3, and the gameplay's actually not too bad. Now, don't get me wrong, it's nothing spectacular, it's quite arcadey when it comes to its flight style, but I think that's a bonus when it comes to these aerial combat games. A bit of arcade fun, highly recommend it, and it's quite cheap as well. But that's into the collection, and it will get played from time to time. Next up, and still for the PlayStation 2, we have Midway Arcade Treasures 3, and as you can see with this one, it's all retro racing classics. Now, of course, if you know me, you know I love my compilations. I picked this up purely because it was a compilation, and again, nice and complete. But more importantly, one of the reasons that I did pick this up was because Stunrunner is on this, and that's an arcade game from way back in the day that you just never see. So you need compilations like this to keep games alive that otherwise would just go and fall by the wayside. So Midway Arcade Treasures 3, lots of great arcade racing fun in there. Definitely recommend it. It's not too pricey as well, although apparently PlayStation 2 prices are going up. I don't think so, but it's in the collection now and I'll get to play Stunrunner whenever I like. Leading me on to the last game for the PlayStation 2, and this is a game that I picked up from Forgotten Worlds, and we have a Demolition Girl. Now, the reason I picked up Demolition Girl, I think you can quite clearly see that from the front cover. It's a 505's game. Now, not only that, I do love odd Japanese games, and as you can see, this one, lovely and complete, great condition, like most of the stuff that you'll get from Forgotten Worlds. But as I was saying, Japanese games, very odd Japanese games, pretty much in the same vein as Mr. Mosquito, which I've managed to play digitally because of PlayStation Plus. I'd like to get that into the collection as well. But I've got Demolition Girl now into the collection, and as you can see, wasn't too badly priced. I'm quite happy with that, and I'm looking forward to putting more time into measuring her bust size. Next up, we're moving down a generation onto the PlayStation, and the first game that I picked up, also from Forgotten Worlds, Buster Move 2. Now, I know this isn't really an uncommon game, it's not an expensive game, but it's a game that I've been hunting for in a condition that I would be happy with for quite a while. Got it here, Forgotten Worlds. Again, what a wonderful place. If you're ever in Sturton, then definitely try and make your way to Forgotten Worlds, or the west of Scotland anyway, because I have been hunting for this in the west of Scotland for a long time in a condition that I'm happy with. And to have one of the games that I had back in the day back into the collection, a game that I put a lot of time into, whether it was head to head with friends or whether it was just me there battling my own skill set. But Buster Move 2 Arcade Edition into the collection, and I'm super happy about that. Next up, and still for the PlayStation 1, we have Fear Effect 2. Now, this is a game that I haven't played before. I've played Fear Effect and I want to play Fear Effect again before I get back into this. Now, unfortunately, this one wasn't complete. It comes with all the discs. They all look wonderful. I've had this in the system, obviously. I had this in the PlayStation 3. Runs great in the PlayStation 3, so there's another thumbs up for that. But I'll play Fear Effect before I get on to Fear Effect 2. Now, for anyone who hasn't or isn't aware of Fear Effect and Fear Effect 2, bear in mind these are tank control games. And if you're not a fan of tank controls, this game is probably going to frustrate you as much as any other game that employs them. I do like tank control games, and I also like the art style in the Fear Effect games, so it's a win-win for me. It's into the collection, and it'll get played as often as possible. Next up, we're moving down a generation and over to Sega for the Mega Drive, and I picked up Mega Games 1. Now, the reason I picked this up is because it was a game that I had, or a compilation that I had back in the day. Absolutely loved it. It's got Super Hang-On now. Super Hang-On on the Mega Drive is nowhere near as good as the arcade. We did try and kid ourselves that the Mega Drive was an arcade quality machine. It wasn't quite there, but you know what, it was good enough. And Super Hang-On on the Mega Drive was fine for at home. You also have World Cup Italia 90, I'm sure that was just called World Soccer or something like that overseas. When I say overseas, I mean outside of the UK. But we had World Cup Italia 90. Did enjoy that back in the day. It was a game that you play with your friends. But more importantly, from this compilation, we have Columns, and this is the game that I really wanted back into the collection, and I wanted it on Mega Games 1 because that's how I had it back in the day. Now, many people say that Columns is just a poor man's Tetris. Well, I'm going to have to disagree, because what Columns is Tetris with blast processing, so stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Nintendo fans. Next up, we're staying with Sega, but moving down a generation, because I picked up some Master System games. And the first one being Rampart. Again, you can tell by this lovely little price ticket that it came from Forgotten Worlds. £10 now. It comes without the manual. This one doesn't really bother me when it comes to the Master System and Mega Drive. As long as I've got the box and the cart works, that's all good by me. Now, the reason that I picked up Rampart was this was a game that passed me by back in the 80s, and it's a shame because it's an arcade strategy game, and you didn't get a lot of arcade strategy. Rampart I was made aware of thanks to YouTube, and only a matter of years ago, and it's in the collection now, and I'm sure Clint over at Retro Rewind will be quite happy that I've got this back into the collection. Oh well, I've got a Master System game in the collection this month, because they made quite a fuss about no Master System games last month. So just to make sure he's extra happy, I did manage to pick up another one. And it's funny because this was one of the games that I was after. He asked me why I didn't pick up any Master System games, and I said, I'm only after a handful. He asked me what handful. I gave him a list of RPGs, and he says, RPG guy. And this one popped up. It was a decent price. Again, no manual with this. Again, I don't mind too much when it comes to these cartridges if they don't have the manual. I would prefer it. If I can pick it up at some point down the line, I will. But we have a wonderful RPG on the Master System. It was a great system, absolutely great system for RPGs. Probably not as great as the PlayStation 1 if you must. But Miracle Warriors, a lovely Master System RPG into the collection where it will get played plenty. Now next up we're staying with the 8-bit generation, but doing a sideways step to the microcomputers because I did pick up a Spectrum game. And I picked up Turn a Nog, £2, as again this little price ticket here lets you know that I got it from the wonderful Alan at Forgotten Worlds. And for anyone who doesn't know what a Spectrum game comes on, it's a cassette, an audio cassette. Now the reason I picked this up is it was a game that I tried to play back in the day, and I mean tried to play because it's fairly complicated for a young person. The graphics, however, are absolutely spectacular for the time that this game is produced, and I want to give this a proper try and see if, as an adult, I can finally beat Turn a Nog. Very Scottish title there, by the way. Look that up if you're interested. Now next up is technically not software, but it has a lot of software, and it's technically not retro because it's very, very new, but it's completely retro and full of games. It's the Sega Drive Mini 2. Now this one I've been holding off for, hoping that the price would drop. The price hasn't really dropped on it, and no big surprise considering the quality of the games that are on this. I'll give you a proper look at the box, maybe a rundown of the games that are on it, but some of the games of course that I was after that's on this game is Shining Force 2 on the Mega CD, and of course we have the wonderful Sewer Shark and Sylphid. What else do we have on this? Echo the Dolphin. Well, I can live without Echo the Dolphin. And of course, Night Trap. Night Trap is a game that I've wanted to play for a very long time, but I kinda want to play it the way it could be or should have been played, and this here obviously has got the wonderful 6-button controller. You know what, I'll just open this up for you so you can have a proper look at the boy. Get all the packaging out the way. We'll start with the main console itself. And it does look like a very pretty little Mega Drive to sit you there. And more importantly, it comes with a controller, a 6-button Sega controller. Now this will be fantastic for the fighting games. It'll be mostly played for things like Shining Force. I'll play the RPGs on it, but it's got those 6 buttons there just in case. So there you go my friends, that's my pickups in the last few weeks. A couple of visits to meet other people from YouTube that I have known for a long time but never met in the flesh before. And what did you think of that? Any of these games on here, games that you would like into your collection? Any of them games that you would like to see fired into the sun? Well, just let me know, because interaction between you and me, well, that's what makes YouTube special. It does for me anyway. Thank you as always for watching, and until next time of course, cheerio.